Hello, this is part 2 of my cultural shocks video after moving to Spain. My name is Yulia and I am Eastern European Ukrainian who moved to Spain over 2 years ago. If you're new to my channel, you can watch the previous part somewhere here. I will leave it here. And also, don't forget to follow me. I share content about living in the south of Spain, the differences between my own culture and between Spain, also about traveling and learning languages. I still can't believe that this is something actually happening. Number one is you might have money here in Spain from your previous job or elsewhere, but you cannot rent an apartment. The money is not the guarantee for you to get an apartment. You can rent a room because the requirements are not that strict, but you almost have no chance of renting an apartment without a working contract. And preferably, this contract should be from Spain, and your salary preferably should be at least 30% of the whole price. Just to give you an example about Malaga, for example, an average apartment would cost you 1000 euro, which means that you're supposed to gain over 3k euro. I know no one in Spain with that kind of salary. It's not even an average salary. Number two, in my country, it's very typical to have tea. We love tea. I think in all Eastern Europe, they love tea. And we have also so many options. We are the lovers of the tea, which is not actually tea. It's called tea without tea. For example, it might be a mix of ginger, lemon, orange, and some other ingredients, some berries and stuff. We mix it all and we call it a tea, and it's very popular. We love the hot drinks, and I understand why in Spain it's not that popular to drink hot drinks. I remember when I just came to Spain and I tried some of these icy drinks, I immediately got sick. By the way, in Spain people don't believe that you might get sick because of the cold drink, but in my country we do get sick because of that. Anyway, somehow the coffee is an exception, and in Spain it's very typical to have café con leche. But if you order a cup of tea, they think that you're probably sick. Number three, it's actually something similar to my country. In Spain, it's very popular, it's very common to eat pork. Have you seen this jamon everywhere? In every supermarket there is jamon and you can feel the smell. There are different types of sausages made of pork, and I don't know why, but pork is still cheaper than chicken. In my country, by the way, pork is more expensive than chicken, and chicken is not even considered meat in my country. Anyway, in Spain, they even add pork lard into the sweets, the Christmas sweets. I didn't know that. But also there are vegetarian options, so in case you don't eat pork products, you can always opt for these options. Number four is this balance between work and life. I'm from a country where we are used to work a lot. I think it's so beautiful to be able to enjoy, to be able to work only at your working hours and not afterwards. In Spain, for example, you cannot work more than 40 hours legally, and there is no cult like achieving things, working too much. And I do respect that about Spanish people. I think that and no stress policy, or at least minimum stress policy, is the reason why people in Spain live longer than in other countries. Number five would be an open communication with everybody. For me, Spain is the most extroverted country I've ever been to. People here are so open towards any kind of interaction, communication, at least if you speak Spanish. So I strongly recommend to learn Spanish before moving to Spain, or at least start learning Spanish, put in an effort into learning Spanish while you are already in Spain. For example, if you have an issue in Spain, you can always talk to a stranger and they are not going to be rude. They are going to explain how to get somewhere or what you can do. And it's actually such a nice experience. For example, I was at the supermarket and I wanted to ask how long these Christmas plans last. A few weeks or months or even years. The supermarket employee started discussing that topic with other people waiting in the queue, and they were all so interested in helping me, in giving me advice about this Christmas plant. This was super nice. Also, in Spain, it's very typical to use the word amigo even if you don't know this person for a long time. In my language, I would call this person an acquaintance. But in Spain, if you say conocido, everybody is gonna give you a weird look. And one more interesting thing is that in Spain, it's very typical to greet people with two kisses. At least, this is what I noted in a young generation. Number 6. This is about languages and different accents. I know everybody knows that in Spain people speak Spanish. Everybody also knows that people in Spain, in Catalonia, in Barcelona, they speak Catalan language. Let me add something that not many people know. For example, that Catalan language is not only spoken in Catalonia, but also it's spoken in Valencia and in the Balearic Islands, so in Mallorca. And there are two more official languages in Spain. Both of them are spoken in the north of Spain. One is Galician in Galicia, and the other one is Euskara from País Vasco and Navarra. There are also different accents, and every region has its own characteristic features, which is really interesting if you're a linguist and if you want to learn some interesting things about how language is developing. I think, and most people say that the most difficult Spanish accent is the Andalusian one. I am living in Andalusia, in Malaga, and yeah, here they have a really rich vocabulary. They have many expressions, slang expressions, and also the pronunciation is pretty complicated. The accent from Murcia is considered quite complicated. The more neutral accents are around Madrid, but not exactly Madrid. They say it's more about Salamanca and Valladolid. Point 7 is about the tipping culture. If you're living in the US, you are so used to the tipping culture, like 20% or even more, and it's obligatory. In Spain, it's not obligatory. Even in my country, it's like preferable to leave the tip. Like, you're not gonna get any weird looks if you don't, but still. In Spain, I think I've seen so few people in these 2 years who actually left tips, and I think they were all foreigners. When I try to leave tip, sometimes, like my Spanish friends, they might also leave tip. Next point is parties and nightlife. I actually didn't consider the peninsular Spain to be such a party destination, but if you're talking about the main cities, young people do enjoy partying a lot, and it's very typical on Friday night to go out till the morning, to go to a disco, to go to bars, to pubs, and enjoy. The most partying cities are the biggest cities, Madrid and Barcelona, but in other cities as well. Also, Spanish people tend to eat at later hours than, for example, in other northern countries. It's typical to have very late dinner, for example, after 9 p.m., which for me is kind of okay because in my family we also did that. We are a late dining family. Next point is that people prefer drinking over eating. For example, in my country, also in Azerbaijan, is very typical to eat. There is this culture of eating out, of going to fancy restaurants, while in Spain, it's so not typical, and people tend to go to bars to have a drink and to have a conversation. It's not about eating. Next point is about the housing prices. I think that the housing prices are actually so exaggerated. I don't understand how a person living alone can actually rent an apartment working only one job. And I see that many young people who are not living with their parents, they have to rent rooms. And it's not only about young people. I met many people who are in their 30s, who are in their 40s, who are still renting a room because they cannot afford to have a separate apartment of their own. Even to rent, I'm not talking about buying an apartment. In my country, the idea of buying your own apartment is widespread, and we don't tend to even rent apartments. Our goal, our objective is to buy an apartment, to have our own home. But here, we're not talking about buying an apartment. We're talking about not being able to rent an apartment because of the prices. The apartments are too overpriced compared to the salaries. Therefore, I noticed that people get independent very late. For example, in late 20s, they only graduate from university or they kind of get their first jobs, and only after in their 30s they start thinking on how to move away from their parents, which is a nonsense for me because in my country people in their early 20s try to get somewhere else, try to stop living with their parents and to get their own apartment, rented apartment, I mean, and soon buy their own apartment. So these are my 10 cultural shocks after living in Spain for over 2 years. If you have anything to add or comment, please do it below in the comment section, and see you in the next videos.